London wrestling fans, I'm your host, Ben Allison, and you are watching Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast, where we will be giving you our thoughts on last night's episode of Monday Night Raw. On a day where Edge challenged Balor to release his demons at WrestleMania, Logan Paul proved he could be the next big heel in WWE, and Jey Uso's true ambitions might have been revealed. Joining me today, firstly, the one and only Clark Taylor. How are you, Clark?
I'm doing well. I'm happy to be here. It's the streak's back. I've been on fire of late since I've been back from Vegas. I skipped my day off yesterday. Fill it up again. Let's do it again.
Absolutely great having you here today. And also back again after he won the quiz the other day, Chaos. How are you today, Chaos?
Yes, the champ is here. As you can see, live and breathing. Thank you very much for inviting me back on the show. Got a lot to talk about. And not long to WrestleMania, guys. Not long to WrestleMania. I'm going to bring this bad boy with me. So, yeah, let's go. Let's go.
I cannot wait. But let's talk firstly about last night's episode of Monday Night Raw, which opened with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn coming out together. And they basically did a bit of a cheesy promo where Sami said, I understand now why you didn't want to be with me again. It's because I wasn't treating you like you were my brother and all that. It was a bit cheesy, whatever. But it was good. And then the Usos came out, and that's when the segment got good. Now, this is where it got a little interesting, right? Because this was the first time out of 2 times in the night where it was acknowledged that Jey Uso wants to turn on Roman Reigns. Now, is that the truth? Is that just them trying to turn on create tears in the bloodline? Who knows? But Sami Zayn said that Jey Uso's biggest dream is to turn on Roman Reigns. And of course, we know Sami Zayn and Jey were close, so who knows? Perhaps there's some truth to that. And one thing which was notable, Jey completely no-sold it when it happened. He didn't reply to it and all that. They replied to the other thing which Sami said, which was perhaps quite telling. And we know how big they are on this story with little details. So who knows? Perhaps that really was deliberate. But yeah, it ended up then being, a bit of a brawl between them all. And yeah, then they got separated by some officials. Solo Sikoa then turned up backstage with Roman Reigns. And it was a really, really great segment to open up Monday Night Raw. And this surely has the main event night 1 of WrestleMania to me. But what do you think about it all, Chaos? What were your thoughts on this segment?
Oh my goodness, what a start to Monday Night Raw. Absolutely love the segment. The stuff going. Let me just start off with obviously with Sami and Kev. I understand maybe it may feel a bit cringe for some people, but I thought it would just it just made everyone realize that, even though they've had their ups and downs, they've had their fallouts, at the end of the day, they are brothers. That's what family does. That's what family do. They always fight and kiss and make up. I thought that was amazing. Now, obviously, going to what the Usos was on about. Yeah, you're right. I think that Jey could possibly definitely more than likely turn on Roman, and they've actually been putting little breadcrumbs along the way. I'll never forget when I think there was when Sami was in the Bloodline. There was a little segment on SmackDown, and then Jey and Sami were arguing, and Roman was right in the middle, and it was just like, and then Sami said like, what would you think Roman's gonna say? And then Jey actually openly said like, I don't give a damn what the tribal chief says. You know what I mean? So it's just that kind of stuff. And obviously Roman Reigns was just like, what did you just say, bro? You know what I mean? So I think it definitely is his dream. He's had a taste of that during the Thunderdome era when they were having that awesome feud with Jey and Roman. I say revisit that. Definitely make it a bit of even more of a bigger deal for that to happen. And yeah, I think it's definitely the bloodline's going to crumble at Mania. I 100% agree that it should be main eventing. I've read around that, yeah, like they don't feel like the two lady matches, the women's matches, should main event. At least maybe co-main. I'm cool with that. But yeah, definitely main event. And yeah, it just was an awesome start to the show.
It truly was a great show, and a great segment. I mean, the the I really hope that when the turn does happen, it's the night after Mania, unless Roman is winning. If Roman does win and retains his titles, then I think having Jay turn on him at night 2 would be great. But if not, I'd like the turn to happen from Jay the night after. But what are your thoughts on it all, Clark?
I just had another idea. It's kind of funny. I was thinking about it just since we're talking about it, and Chaos brought up a great point about the moment when he said he doesn't give a damn about what Roman thinks when Jay said that in the first place. Then subsequently following that, we have Jay's a 90 in the video game and Jimmy's an 89. And if you look at their two elite action figures that came out during this storyline, they're not wearing matching gear. Jay's in white trunks with the white lay, and then you have the white lay for Jimmy, but he's got the half hair and black trunks. I'm wondering if maybe Jimmy turns on Jay preemptively the night after Mania, Allison, if that's not the play. That way you can maintain the rest of the bloodline. You can logically have Jimmy and Solo feud with Sammy and Kevin, because I don't know where Sammy and Kevin go carrying the tag belts if you completely dissolve the bloodline. And that, I think, kind of shores that up. It's not necessarily the Usos, but it's Sammy and Kevin. And I'm sorry, it's Jimmy and Solo against Sammy and Kevin. I think that would make some sense, and that works. Other than that, though, Jay logically, they've been teasing it for so long. That's kind of the brilliance of the whole thing. And I think outside of the super kick on Sami Zayn, I have no reason to believe that turn isn't happening shortly.
Yeah. I mean, the one thing which was quite notable about that segment was the Usos weren't actually booed at first. They were cheered when they came out, pretty much. I mean, there were some boos too, but they weren't like really heavily booed, which just shows how over Jey Uso is still. But I mean, here's the thing: I wouldn't want Jay to team with Sammy or whatever, because I think that ship sailed now. Where he did turn on Sammy, he was frustrated at Sammy. Sammy put Jimmy in trouble and all that, but that doesn't mean that Jay doesn't have issues with Roman. So that is one possibility. I think they could do Jay versus Roman. I already pitched yesterday. They do Jay Roman at SummerSlam, and then down the line they do Solo. Down the line to like Royal Rumble, they do Solo versus Roman then. And maybe Solo loses the first one, but eventually goes over. Perhaps the entire feud, ends up with Roman Reigns versus The Rock, and I think that'd be brilliant. I think that'd be perhaps the better way to do it than even this should make probably more sense. But Chaos, what would you say about this?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where I do see where you're going with that. From the outline, from what I can see here, is that it's definitely going to end up. Well, definitely if anything could change. It looks like Solo's going to be at Roman's side after Mania. He's probably going to be the only one. And then probably when Sammy and Kevin wins the titles, they probably will do another rematch later down the line with the Usos. Somehow, though, obviously they don't win them. They don't win them back. But yeah, if the Young Bucks, the one thing I would, if the Young Bucks didn't do it with Hangman Page, what would be awesome if when it came to the Roman and Cody main event, the Usos obviously run down to the ring and they're about to obviously try and help out Roman, and they're about to, but then they refrain from doing that and they just give that nod to Cody to go and finish it off, like, because there's already a friction in also on last night. Even Jimmy was like saying, I don't like being blamed for something that I shouldn't. And then he reworded it and he was blaming on Sammy and not Roman. But you could tell that he was hinting like, I don't like you putting the blame on me for Jay's absence, that kind of, you know what I mean? And I think that could easily carry on with some madness that happened in next Monday night's Raw. And then, they want to help him out, but they choose not to. And then Cody does the finishing blow to Roman Reigns and take it. But I mean, that's really riding close to what Hangman Page had with Kenny Omega, and the Elite came down and they didn't bother to interfere, that kind of thing. So I don't know if they might do that, but yeah, I think that's where they're probably going to go down. I think it's going to be Roman and Solo for a little bit, and then it could lead up to Roman versus Rock at some point. I think for sure.
And you just talked about Roman and Solo, and this leads us perfectly into the main event of Monday Night Raw, the last segment, which we'll quickly get into at the same time right now, because obviously the two were very linked. And the main event segment was Roman Reigns in the ring, his return to Monday Night Raw, and Cody came out basically instantly. Both men gave, their statements and all of that. Solid promos and all this. And Cody said that he wants to stop hearing about his father or his brother because, they're not, it's not like they could get involved in the feud. And I did like the fact that they're kind of stepping away from that now. But what I really did like then was Cody then went after the Bloodline and said that everybody said Jey Uso is going to turn on the Bloodline. Jimmy is going to then leave the Bloodline. And basically said as well that, he said to Solo, then he started talking to Solo, who was in the ring with Roman. And he said to Solo that he knows what it's like to be, a multi-generational superstar. And he knows the pressures that comes with it. And he basically said to Solo that he isn't ready. He thinks he's ready. He's not ready. And the fact that he's hiding behind Roman proves that he's not ready and all of this. Roman Reigns then drops the mic, leaves the ring. And Cody says something else to Solo. Solo was about to walk back into the ring. Roman shouting at him. Solo ignores Roman, goes to the spike. Cody Rhodes dodges the spike.
He claps him. He probably boots him in the face.
It was honestly a sick spot. It was absolutely fantastic. And then Reigns stopped Sikoa before anything else happened. It was a hell of a segment. I mean, it's another segment which kind of made Roman look weak, which I know, Clark, which we'll get into, I'm sure, in a second, is an issue which you are having, and it's a very good concern to have about the fact that Roman really does look weak right now. But yeah, we really do need a segment very, very soon. I mean, hopefully this Friday on SmackDown, where Cody does just get completely mauled by Roman. I did like the idea yesterday that you said, Clark, about having perhaps Roman put Cody in the guillotine and just have him completely fade. That would be sick. A sick ending to SmackDown would make Reigns look a little bit more dominant, because the segment did make him look weak, but the segment was very entertaining. And it really is the Bloodline. It's like when the old thing a couple of years ago, it was like Bullet Club is fine, but the Bloodline was fine for a week, and now it looks like it's in tatters again. It's all collapsing around Roman. It does feel a little obvious, like it's Cody's winning, which is why part of me feels they might actually have Roman win and shock us all. I mean, would be the wrong decision, but part of me feels that might be the direction they're actually going in at this point. But Clark, I'll pass it to you first. What are your thoughts on all of this?
I hate to do this, but I want to address the last thing you said first. And if they continue on this route or in this road, I think it's the only choice is have Roman go over, because in my eyes, as great as last night's segment was, and I agree with everything you said about how cool the spot was with the dodge and like what Cody did and said, he just looks too strong. And it's one of those ones where even as a kid, I was that kid that would have, I would have flipped. I would have rooted for Reigns to win this one as a kid.
Wow.
And as an adult, I'd do the same right this second, unless Reigns does something that convinces me that Cody's a true babyface. Cody's out there in a suit every week calling the shots, man. It's heelish behavior, and it's something that's not sustainable in the long term. Because once this story is finished, the tagline that everyone said, where do you go with a guy that tells everyone what to do, acts better than everyone, acts better than Solo Sikoa? I know what it's like to be a third generation and you're not ready. Things like that. Like, I mean, he's got a superiority complex, and he had it in AEW. And I just worry where you go if he does just then go over on Reigns here. Where do you go with Cody? Because who's threatening to that? I call the shots, and I can wrestle anybody. That's hard to beat. and it's not an underdog babyface story.
Yeah,
And
but that's what Cena was for 20 years, bro. I mean, like he was the
that was the problem.
superiority king.
This is where they messed with that. That's where they messed him up.
But
He had the superiority art complex, and they convinced they shoved it in our faces that he was a babyface, and he wasn't.
But that's my argument. My counter argument is that when it comes to the face of WWE, when you look at it, that's how it's always been. Like when Rock was the face, he had a superiority complex. Steve Austin, Cena, Rock.
I would agree, but I do think if we're gonna get down into a more like nuanced way of looking at it when it comes to that, Hogan was a babyface. Austin was the first anti-hero. That was different.
Yeah.
Michaels was a bit of an anti-hero. He was a babyface at first, the ultimate babyface. In fact, I would go by that blueprint, the story they told of Shawn going into WrestleMania 12 against Bret Hart, more than I would the way they've gone about Cody right now, because Shawn clearly looked to be fighting from underneath in that one. Even though he was the ultimate over babyface, he was clearly fighting from underneath. He was fighting against something larger. It feels like Cody's fighting the story, not against the 700 or 800,000 day champion that we've built up to this point. Cody's fighting the story, right? Can he beat the odds of completing the story that they've with his father and all of that? But not Roman Reigns, not the big scary bad bloodline with the numbers advantage and the wise man. We just haven't been told that.
But I guess that was the only way around it, because he has to fight the story. I mean, because before the Rumble, he had no ties to the bloodline. So
I agree. I think he's got to do both, though.
But it's tricky though, because you can't really force the storyline out of nothing.
Especially when Roman's not there half the time. That's what I was saying the other day. The fact that it's honestly the fact that Cody, the fact that Roman doesn't seem very intimidating is actually Roman's fault for not showing up at the minute. But the one thing I will say, Clark, to your point, is that in fairness, both John Cena and I mean, Roman Reigns to an extent as well, but The Rock and John Cena, the two big ones, were shoved down our faces, but ended up selling like
The Rock was.
I wouldn't say
The Rock was.
They
Cena,
I'll give you. Ended the turn. They did the turn.
Cena and Reigns. I'll give you Cena and babyface Reigns.
He wasn't getting over right. But here's the thing: they sold tons of merch during that time, and became mainstream stars. Roman Reigns might actually be the exception to that, because he was pushed down our face as a babyface, and it never really clicked until he turned heel.
But do you remember
not just wrestling, but in the mainstream too?
Rock had the wherewithal before the rivalry with Goldberg to turn heel, and did Hollywood Rock with the helicopter entrance, which was hilarious, and that's when he did the Rock concert, and dissed all the fans in Sacramento. Which, by the way, it's really funny because he always gets credit for calling Sacramento a cowtown. That's a Shaquille O'Neal line. It's really funny. Shaquille O'Neal said it first. Now, don't get me wrong. Like, the Rock concert segment is one of my all-time. It's hilarious.
It's one of the best of all time.
When the Lakers beat the Kings in May, it's too good. It's hard to beat. Mm-hmm. But I would say that the Rock, I think, had the he was ahead of it and knew when it was the right time, because even though he was a heel during that era, it's kind of funny. Like, it was very quick and easy to turn him back to being a face when it was necessary. But just the continuity of him doing that short turn was brilliant, because at first everyone was confused, but in hindsight, I think it looks a heck of a lot better than it did in the moment. So I will say, I don't know what this looks like in 6 months, right? It could be something that's improved upon, but I'm nervous for where do you go from here if Cody is not only completing the story, but winning the championship, carrying the title, and he's arguably not solely responsible, because you got to give Sammy and Kevin credit, but he's responsible for disbanding breaking up the bloodline. Like, that's a lot for a baby, right? Just I feel like the focus could be more on him overcoming the the nerves and all of that for winning the big one and avenging, his dad never carrying the WWE title or WWF title, and doing all of that, coupled with Roman Reigns still should be the most threatening force in the industry, and it doesn't feel like that right this second. Cody Rhodes feels like that right this second.
Yeah, that is true. That is a great point that you made. And I mean, another thing as well, there's 2 points you can go off from there, right? And one is that Cody said that after WrestleMania, he wants to have if he wins the title, he wants to have a Ric Flair like championship run where he's defending it constantly, every show and all that. Different type of championship run than we've seen in recent history. And while that is, sounds cool, as soon as it happens, fans will start to turn on him for winning, right?
Yeah.
It's just the way it will happen.
Yeah.
However, I mean, you mentioned about, The Rock turning heel. There is a possibility that Cody actually could turn heel if fans
100%.
turn on him. Because in AEW, he didn't want to turn heel, right? And the reason for that was he was considering a career in politics afterwards. He has since confirmed that he is no longer planning that at all. So, I mean, he really could turn heel if necessary now.
100%.
So
I think
I'm not too worried. I mean, yeah, it'd be certainly interesting to see.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
that would be the ultimate. So and I haven't even gotten that far yet, but it's kind of funny now that you said it. Like, I immediately was like, well, if he does turn heel, then I'm going to be a big Cody fan and I'm going to look like a goofball. Like, not that I'm not a Cody fan. I really think he's an amazing talent, but I would love that. Similarly to with Reigns, I think if he does it also, though, before it's kind of demanded, that's what would be something that would be really impressive to see.
Or if it's like organic, if it just happens organically and they actually follow it, like, then 100% it makes even more.
He kind of beats us to the punch. It can hit harder almost.
Yeah.
And Bellonette is in the comments and is saying they are 50-50 on who ultimately wins. They could see Roman winning only because WWE loves numbers and they're pretty much at the 1,000-day landmark. But I could also see Jey Uso costing Roman the titles. I mean, I personally wouldn't really have... I'd maybe have Jey costing Roman the titles in the way of maybe he takes out Solo or something like that when Solo's trying to help Roman cheat. Although I don't know if I could possibly... Unless, actually, I know who it would be. It would be Heyman. Jey would take out Heyman because it wouldn't make sense for Solo to be Solo or Jimmy.
Yeah.
But perhaps he takes out Heyman. So I could see perhaps that to even the odds or something. But I couldn't see it as much as, okay, Jey fully turns heel. Not heel, turns against Roman as bluntly as literally like super kicks him or something, purely because I think that would take the moment away from Cody. So I would either do it the night after, or if Reigns wins, have it after the match.
That's what I'm saying. I want this to be a clean finish. It has to be no dirty shenanigans. You need to make it show that he actually earned it. Yeah. He has to be a clean finish. Maybe tease that somebody's is going to happen. Like I said, the Usos about to come in, about to help out Roman, but then obviously maybe something happened on the Monday night before. They'd be like, you know what? Nah, we're done with following his orders. Go take him out, and then Rhodes wins. But yeah, I don't want this. We already had enough of those shenanigan-filled matches. We had it with Drew. We had it with Cesaro, Kevin Owens. Like we don't need that again. Like I think this, for once, it needs to be a clean finish to take out the king, the chief. You know Definitely. What I mean? So that's why I'd be cool with it.
I completely agree with you there.
And I think it's funny, like, honestly, if Jey were to affect the outcome that directly, it would be the ultimate heel Cody thing, which is kind of funny to me or whatever. Also, I wanted to set the number at, are we going over under 3.5 crossroads?
3.5.
3.5 crossroads. Yeah. Well, I don't want any ties. If it was 3, no ties. Okay, 3.5. Okay. So
I'd say
under
4.
I think 4.
So that'd be over.
I'm going over.
You're going to go over. I'll take the under then, and we'll figure that out Mania week.
That's an interesting one. And
take the under.
Talking about betting, but more specifically money here. Soul is sending a comment. Shout out to Soul, and he is saying, "So Chaos ready to lose 400K at the WrestleMania Superstar. What are you most excited to buy? What is it, Chaos? What are you excited to buy?"
I gotta love that. I'm looking forward to cry as soon as I enter that superstore. So yeah, 2 things I'm definitely aiming to get. I want to get the Money in the Bank briefcase, and I just saw online that they've got the side plates for WrestleMania. So I'm looking to get that, put that one of my bad boys here. But yeah, who knows? I'm looking to meet some of the stars as well. So I think Bailey's going to be there. Taker, even though he's been, but yeah, those two are the most thing. My Money in the Bank briefcase and the side plates. What about you guys?
Yeah. I really want to get a Cody t-shirt, which is exclusive to that superstore. I mean, I think so many people want it. It might be a bit of a challenge, but I'm hoping they have the stock, because I love the design of it, and I love it. You know this, Chaos, from when we went to the superstore in Cardiff. I love the exclusive stuff. I got the Taker shirt from the Taker show, and then I got one for Class as well. I love the exclusive stuff. But what about you, Clark?
It's funny. I'm excited for, like, if a t-shirt stands out to me, I'll dabble for sure. But I like the little collectible stuff, like definitely like magazine type stuff, things like that.
Nice,
if I can find program or even like coffee table books, I really love. Like, I have a really cool Mania coffee table book from the two that I've been to. I've one of each or whatever. I'd love to get one of those for this one since we're going. And then I do love the action figures. It cracks me up. We'll dabble in that. Just check out what they got at least. I don't know if I'll fully buy anything or like go in. I might be the lamest one, I think, in the crew as far as buying merch, which is kind of funny. Like it'll be a couple little trinkets here and there, but not a ton.
Fair dues. Yeah, they ain't cheap either, so that's fair enough.
No, they're not. I mean, I think the program which I bought for Class, I think that cost like 25 quid.
Oh yeah,
they usually about $30.
Like it'll be expensive.
Yeah,
I definitely want one of those.
I got a whole heap here.
I'm honestly more excited to just be to be in the scene, like see everything and like that's what I'm most excited to, like feel the energy and like all the people and the excitement. That's
that one Clash.
I'm 100% gonna get one.
That one, go WrestleMania.
Yes.
Oh, that was my first Mania I ever watched live.
That one, WrestleMania.
How many Manias have you been to, Chaos?
6 Manias.
Good for you. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I actually did not realize that. This is my 4th.
This is my first. I'm pumped.
Yeah, break. Oh yeah, I got this one as well.
Europe.
Nice.
Nice.
That one, yeah. So,
it's gonna be my first time outside of Europe, so I'm so excited for it.
Yeah, we're gonna welcome you to U.S. soil. It's gonna be it's gonna be great.
I'm actually so excited. But talking about things that I'm so excited for, actually that's such an exaggeration, but something which I'm excited for after last night, that is Logan Paul and Seth Rollins, because that segment last night between them both, Impulsive TV, it was actually really good. 24 hours ago, I said on this show that I was not excited for Impulsive TV, and actually it was a hell of a segment. Logan Paul came across like a complete, like last week when he was being a heel, it was just a bit cheesy. It was just the traditional stuff. Today, this week as a heel, he was great, especially when Rollins came out. He just talked the entire way through Rollins' entrance while the crowd was singing. It was brilliant. I loved it. But, Logan actually felt like a really good heel in this segment. Seth obviously did great as well. I thought when the technical difficulties happened, I was like, flip's sake. And then when I found out it was Seth, they did that really well. They really did the technical difficulties well, because it came back and then went again. They did that really well. And overall, I really did enjoy that segment. I'm getting more into this match. I still wish Seth Rollins was, in a title situation, but still, it's a great feud between the two, and I'm sure they'll put on a banger of a match. But what did you think about it all, Clark? And are you any more excited now for this match?
Honestly, I was most impressed by Logan's work. I thought it was amazing. And it's funny because I should have known. Given his background and what he's so good at, as far as like getting under people's skin, even in his YouTube brand, an impulsive segment on Raw is the perfect forum for him to be at his finest. Yeah. And honestly, was kind of laughing. Like, part of me when I saw it at first was like, why didn't they do this sooner? Like, why didn't we do this months ago? Why haven't we been doing this often? Like, it's just, from the talking through the singing to all the way through to the technical difficulties was funny because I didn't get caught off guard. I thought something was up personally, but it was good enough. It fit in the moment. I'm not sure again on where they go separately from here. So I don't know who goes over at Mania because Seth needs one at Mania. Bad. Seth was in Mr. WrestleMania territory until the last couple of years.
He has more losses than wins, 100%.
Yeah, he was in. I mean, and don't get me wrong, Shawn Michaels, I still, in my eyes, is Mr. WrestleMania, and he has an under 500 record at the event. But I don't know if Seth needs to get a win at Mania, I think, but I don't know what it does for Logan because, yes, he had the big spot in the Rumble. Yes, he looked great in his debut, and again against Reigns, he looked better than I expected. But I don't know if he loses in every big match he's in, if we can keep believing in him, because he still is a rookie, right? We can only take so much one lucky shot, heel or babyface. But it's a unique scenario.
Yeah, I mean, perhaps the reason that I believed that was because I've been watching too much AEW recently, so I'm used to seeing technical difficulties. I'm only joking. But Belvinette is in the comments again and is saying that another day Seth looks like he's just stepped off.
Oh yeah, he looked like roadkill. Definitely.
But what were your thoughts on the entire segment, Chaos?
I think it was very solid. My interest in it is pretty much the same level as it was before, and that's still pretty high. I just simply because I know what Seth and Logan can do together in the ring. I think the chemistry is going to be just off the charts. The technical difficulty thing, obviously, that was that didn't really catch me off guard. I was just like, am I watching AEW? But no, I'm not. But yeah, it was a good start. There was a lot of good time on the mic for Logan, and he handled it well. You could see him as actually getting more confident and more confident in his work, definitely on the mic. Regarding who wins and who loses, I'd say even if Logan does lose, I don't think it's gonna hurt him. People know that Shorty had that random match at Saudi Arabia, and it was probably the match of the night against Roman Reigns, so he's able to hang around with the top guys. But he's an attraction, and since he's an attraction, I don't think he needs to, for him, wins and losses don't really matter. His stock is still going to be high. People are still the kids are still going to drink Prime. Kids are still going to watch his YouTube stuff and see anything that he's in. So he's just more of an attraction. I don't think it's going to really harm him. Seth definitely needs a win. I mean, he put in the work for last year for Cody. He hasn't had anything substantial at Mania. So yeah, I think Seth is definitely going to win. He needs to put, he's not going to let a part-timer, a YouTuber go over him. So yeah, I think it's going to be a great match. Seth for the win. Looking forward to it, definitely.
And I mean, you mentioned about Prime there. Something really interesting that Logan Paul spoke about on an episode in Impulsive the other day with Dave Portnoy was that apparently Prime is now more famous than both him and KSI. So apparently it is already more famous than them both.
It's set for life with that thing. I don't know how, because that thing tastes like ass, but...
Oh, I've never tried it. How have you got your hands on some? I can't find it anywhere.
Oh, no. My next door neighbor, they got their kids. They gave me a little sample of it. I think they went to they got suckered into buy for 15 pounds or whatever. So I was like, yeah, it tastes like cough syrup. It's nothing special.
I've not heard any good things about the taste either myself, by the way.
Yeah, I need to try some. It's more available right in America. It's easy.
Oh yeah, it's super available. Or we can get it at the gas station.
Yeah,
you can get it the second you get off the plane.
I need to get it, literally. I've been dying to get my hand in it because it's the official sports drink for Arsenal as well as the UFC. but it's the Arsenal drink, so
no one drinks it.
Yeah, it's not.
I haven't seen no player drink that thing. So so fair enough.
They're not drinking it on the sideline. Even Gatorade, it's the same thing.
I
It's
know.
powder.
I know they don't.
They
But
put powder in the water. It's different.
If it's good enough for Mikel Arteta during his press conferences, it's good enough for me. But no, I want to give it a try, and maybe I'll give my thoughts on it on the show. And
we're gonna vlog.
We need to do the cinnamon. We need to do the cinnamon toast crunch review on the show. That's gonna happen.
That's gonna trigger Soul. He'll be like, "What the hell is this crap? Where's the salt?"
Watch Soul love it. Watch Soul because he's never tasted it. He's gonna love it. He's gonna take a bite and be like, "Dang it, you're right."
He will never admit it. He
won't admit it, but he's gonna immediately take a bite and be like, "Shit, it is good."
Exactly, 100%.
Oh, by the way, guys, Mania weekend, we're going to be doing so much like that. We're going to have so much content for you guys on YouTube, on the Instagram stories, all of that. We're going to finalize details and stuff in the upcoming days, but it is going to be one hell of a weekend. And I know I'm talking about it every day, but that is how excited we are for it right now. But talking about something which I'm not really excited for, Oscar versus Bianca Belair. I mean, for whatever reason, Carmella wasn't at Raw last night. Hope everything's okay with her. So Pippa Niven teamed up with Chelsea Green instead. Oscar and Bianca Belair, beat them. And then after the match, Oscar, I guess, turned heel or just talked Bianca Belair out, whatever. Oscar came across like an absolute badass in this, and that was great. But is it too little, too late? There still doesn't feel like there's enough tension between them. This Oscar gimmick is great. It could work as like a really badass type heel. Maybe, I mean, you do risk her getting over, but I still think that'd be, the way to go, because at least there'd be something, some emotion in the feud. Because currently, we're one more Raw from Mania, and there's just nothing in this feud. It's honestly quite bad. And this is actually, I haven't even mentioned this. Last night's episode of Raw was, the second Raw before Mania now. Next week is the last one. They've not got much time to tell this story at all. It's way too fast. They've not booked it well. And in the words of Anthony Ricciardi, and I know, Clark, I know you said it too. I know a lot of people have said it. How is this the same creative team that's booking the Bloodline storyline? But it's what it is. Chaos, what did you think about the segment?
Yeah, all in all, I really couldn't care less for this. And it is really baffling because, how do you screw up Bianca Belair versus Asuka? That could be, a co-main or main event match on paper. But yeah, for some reason, one thing I must say, since the Triple H era, Papa H era, his one biggest L, or his the little gripe I have with him is his mishandling of the women's division. He still hasn't got that figured out right, not quite yet. And that's throughout the whole of even Bianca Belair's title reign. It's she's had very mediocre feuds with Bayley. The Becky Lynch thing was going on a bit too long. Carmella somehow got in there. It's been very underwhelming. Not to say that she's it's nothing on Bianca's fault. It's just the creative side of things is not a great. And even on SmackDown, the Ronda Rousey situation wasn't that great. The whole run has been a dud. And they had to play it safe and give it to Charlotte. So hopefully after Mania, there will be a huge reset, and they can actually find out what is happening, because there's something across both brands. Something's not clicking right in the women's division, and this is a true testament to that. Sure, the Charlotte and Rhea thing definitely picked up a little bit more on last week's SmackDown. That has more traction now because that was on the same level as this, in my opinion. But currently I think I feel like they just don't communicate each other. Don't do anything for them on TV now. Just wait until Mania and let the match do the talking. Because I still think that the crowd will still be hyped for it, but the story going into it has been a dud. And I could care less about this. That's my thoughts.
Yeah, and it's the great reset after a WrestleMania. That's gonna be quite interesting too, and especially considering, presumably a draft has to happen then, or whatever, a shake-up. That'll be Triple H's first time, balancing the roster since he's taken charge. because of course they delayed this year's draft to after Mania. So, I mean, there's any little to no excuses for Triple H at that point, because that's his, it's completely his at that point. He's balanced the roster out himself, all of that. I mean, he kind of already has with the amount of names he's brought in. He kind of, has, even though there's not been a draft, he's added people to different rosters, so he kind of already has balanced it out. But yeah, after Mania, he will get his draft. But Clark, what's your thoughts on this feud at this moment in time? I mean, do you think they can save it in 1 week?
I think Chaos is 100% spot on in what he said. Personally, I think feud's a stretch for this. Like it's not really a feud. It's just a match.
Yeah,
that's been booked. And I really agree with his take on the women's division as a whole, which is really disappointing because I don't recall a time where the women's division has been more stacked with talent. Like Bianca Belair at the top of the card is world class athletically. She's awesome on the microphone. She's charismatic. She's outstanding. You have Bayley leading a group. You have Becky Lynch, active, healthy, post baby. You have Asuka. You have Charlotte. You got Ripley, and you have Piper Niven, who you mentioned. I mean, Kai and Sky, and you can go down the list. Liv Morgan. It's baffling to me that neither of these matches stands out as a night headlining all-timer, because on paper it should. It right? Like just the people involved, you can't have better matchups. It's just it was either rushed or there just wasn't enough that went into those stories along the way. It doesn't, I can't figure out why. I will say this: we do not see a lot of promo segments for them, and we also don't see, or for those rivalries, and we also don't see a lot of, similar to like the Impulsive or Miz TV. We don't see anything like that. Like Bailey's Ding Dong Hello, I think we've had one during Mania season. Those are just opportunities to build. I don't know.
I mean, Vince almost did book the division better, which is surprising to say.
Weird.
But we got Bell in the comments here saying that they have their problems with both companies. Women's divisions, which is completely true. I mean, I'm going to be honest. I still do think that WWE is better than AEW's, because WWE still give their women's division more time. That's factual. It's almost triple the time, I think. But I
still think Jade's pretty incredible, though. I think she stands on her own, though. The mid card carrying 100%. That title, though, the way she's done it, I do think she deserves a little special shout out there.
It's been booked badly because it should feel so important, and Jade's done such a good job to make it.
I think it does, though. I think it does.
It's on the booking.
Yeah, I think it does. To me, that belt feels more important than the world title.
Yeah, but I mean, they're not making it big enough deal on Dynamite. They're barely mentioning it. They are barely mentioning it on Dynamite.
Recently, but I do think it's one of the few Dynamite stories that, even though it doesn't get featured often enough on Dynamite, gets away with actually the time away from the screen.
Yeah.
Because of her dominance. It's like when she's back, you know what I mean? It's like the ruler's back. Like,
no,
whoever's in front of her is going to be toppled.
She's absolutely phenomenal. She is honestly perhaps one of the best AEW homegrown stars in my eyes, which is something which I think is a bit controversial, but I will say that. But that pretty much brings this episode to a close, guys. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Please hit that thumbs up and leave a comment below. Share the video with friends. It really helps us. We are here every single day. We'll be back here tomorrow. But yeah, thank you, everybody, for watching. Tomorrow's show, we'll be previewing Dynamite and talking about some other news stories, whatever's going on in the wrestling world. But thank you, guys, and we will see you tomorrow. Good night.